Welcome to the Bobby O Show. My name is Bob O. Potzner, and I'm always excited about all my shows, but today's show I'm particularly excited about because it starts a 2-week series of shows this week and next week involving singing by the world-famous a cappella group, the Whiffenpoofs. But today's show has one of the stars of Whiffenpoofs, the class of 2019, Sofia Campoamor, and she's going to sing for us today. She did some singing she'll do in studio, and we're going to have a great time talking to her about her career as, by the way, the first female member of the Whiffenpoofs in 2019, which I had to scratch my head about because the group was formed in 1908, but she and I will talk about that. To start off, let's see a song that she sang on video here with the Whiffenpoofs, Both Sides Now, made famous by Joni Mitchell. We'll hear it right now.
Rows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air.
I hope it's better than I don't like this video. I don't like that sound.
And feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way.
That might be the echo.
But now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. How many things I could have done, but clouds got in my way. My way, my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all.
Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way. That way you fall, every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way. I've looked at love that way. I've looked at love from both sides. Now from give and take, and still it's love's illusions are. I really don't know.
Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that way, but now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Well, something's lost and something's gained in living every day.
Every day
I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I
Sophia, welcome to the Comcast studio in Danbury, Connecticut. It's a great song. I love that song. I love Joni Mitchell, but you did an awesome job.
Thanks for saying so. I was pretty terrified, honestly.
Watching it now or singing it?
Singing it.
How'd you choose that song to sing as your solo?
I had been looking through the repertoire. This performance was towards the beginning of our year, and so we were still kind of picking and choosing what we wanted to add to the rep, and I think it's one of the best songs ever written, and so it was one I was excited to bring back.
I want to ask you more about that song and the Whiffenpoofs, but I want to ask you some questions first. A little bit about your background, please. Tell born and raised, and take us to how you got to Yale.
Sure, so I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. I did a lot of theater growing up. That's how I got into music, and I was also really into school, and in school I liked to write songs about whatever class project I could, and so in 5th grade I was writing a song in a medieval style because we were studying medieval times, and I wrote a song in 6th grade about the element platinum for my science class and about adverbs, little schoolhouse rock kind of moment, and about the Odyssey in the 8th grade, and then by the time I got to high school I was still doing a lot of theater, but also did a lot of choir and a cappella in high school, and yeah, just really was enjoying the arts and spent all my time doing music and theater and dance, and ended up at Yale because I also really liked school, and that was a place where you could like all kinds of things.
You're a dancer as well?
I'm an amateur dancer. I didn't train super seriously, but I danced through high school and definitely enjoyed that relationship to music as well.
You said you were in theater. Did you do theater like in high school? They had plays, musicals, etc.?
Exactly. I think I did like probably 16 high school theater productions,
what was
plays
your favorite?
and musicals.
What was your favorite?
Oh man, my freshman year we did Parade, which I think is an amazing piece of work. My senior year I was in the prime of Miss Jean Brodie, so that was a very fun lead role to cap off my time there.
When did you realize you had a really good voice?
It's funny, I think I haven't realized that yet, actually. I always liked singing. It was probably when I was like 3 or so, I watched a documentary about Andrea Bocelli, and I just loved imitating him. And in my mind, that's what singing was. It was pretending I spoke Italian, throwing my arms out wide. And then from there, it got a little bit harder once I started trying to think about how to actually do it as an older person. But yeah, I kind of, at recess as a kid, I would go make up songs with my friends and really loved being in choir, and yeah, like I said, starting to do theater, getting to fall in love with that kind of music.
So you started writing songs in 4th or 5th grade?
Yeah, that's about right.
Did you put that on your application for Yale, that I started writing songs in 4th or 5th grade?
I can't remember, but it was probably in there somewhere.
It's probably in there somewhere.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But being in those shows, did the Broadway act, not Broadway, but acting in shows,
yeah,
how did that augment your singing, songwriting? Just the singing part, or did it affect your writing of songs?
I'm sure it did. I think probably the kind of focus on story and the kind of detail and the wordplay that's available in that style probably influenced a lot.
It's interesting how we got to meet each other. I was going to do a show. Russ Jones, who was a Whiffenpoof member, class of '79, I think it was, whenever, roughly that time frame. But we were going to do a show on the alumni of Whiffenpoofs, and we were putting it together, and somehow I got your name. I've forgotten who gave me your name, and we're prepared to do a show, which we're doing next week on Whiffenpoofs.
Right. And
you're going to be back next week from Brooklyn to come back to, appreciate you coming here to Danbury. You're getting some fudge for today and plus a little extra for coming here. And so I heard you about your background, you're writing songs, whatever, and then I heard that song. And I said, wait, we got to do a show just about you. No offense to the other people who are going to be coming,
no, of course.
But that's how we met. And we've been about a dozen Zoom calls or whatever, and meeting you today for the first time. Tell me about the Whiffenpoofs. When you got to Yale, did you know the Whiffenpoofs before you got to Yale?
I did. They had actually come and sung at my high school. So it's honestly kind of creepy. There's a Facebook post from when I was 14 where Facebook, it used to be structured where it would ask you like, Sophia, how are you feeling today? Like you fill in the blank. And there was this one day when the Whiffenpoofs had come and I had taken pictures with them and everything. And I wrote, sad period because I can never be in the Whiffenpoofs.
Really? You wrote that?
I really wrote that. I had forgotten, but when I got in, somebody dug it up from my
Oh, I would have loved to
Facebook
show
wall.
that for today. Maybe we'll have that for next time. If you can get it
Sounds
for me for
good.
next week's show,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
When I grew up in Shelton, Connecticut, which is about 20 minutes from Yale, and I never thought I could ever get into Yale. It was
Yeah.
I applied because my father said you will apply, and I'm the generation if your father said you will apply,
Yeah.
yes sir, no excuse sir. But the only thing I knew about Yale was that the Yale-Harvard game we lost 29-29 when Calvin Hill played for Yale,
Oh,
and the
wow.
Whiffenpoofs.
Those were the things.
You know, those are the things. And I had some friends who were singers. None of them in my class got into Whiffenpoofs, but it's a great part of Yale, the a cappella singing.
Yeah.
Tell me why it is the Whiffenpoofs had a group of men from 1908 to 2019. I would have expected Yale had women, I think, starting in 1967 or 68. What happened that Yale had such a long experience without Whiffenpoof women?
Right. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of ways you could tell the story, but when women were admitted to Yale, for example, the Glee Club, within a couple of years, I believe, which had been arranged for lower voices and for men to sing, and it had been an all-male institution for its whole time, the Glee Club went through a process in which they not only changed to anyone of any gender can be in it, but they actually rearranged their repertoire so that it was soprano, alto, tenor, bass for the arrangements, which gives the most possibility for singers. I don't know what the conversation was at the time that women joined, but I think the assumption was the Whiffenpoofs are the Whiffenpoofs, and if the other a cappella singing wants to happen, you have to make another group. There are lots of a cappella groups at Yale. The Whiffenpoofs just happen to be the all-senior group, and they happen to be the oldest group. But there were many other a cappella groups even before women came to Yale that usually freshmen, sophomores, juniors are in, and then the senior group is the Whiffenpoofs. So I don't know what the conversation was like, but pretty quickly into women having been admitted to Yale, an additional senior group was formed that was all women. That was Women Rhythm.
Well, that's the name of the group, Women Rhythm.
Women Rhythm, yeah, spelled WHIM''N, so it's a little pun there too. Women Rhythm, and so they had been the all senior women's option for many years. They're a fantastic group. They're really wonderful, but because they had many decades fewer than the Whiffenpoofs of existence, because how could they have existed before women were at Yale? It's a pretty different opportunity, and as you said yourself, you know, the only thing you knew about Yale was this football game and the Whiffenpoofs, and so the kind of name brand around the world it's just not the same thing. But I think that was not a reason to do anything about it for a couple more decades. But there were many people that I had known from my a cappella group, Mixed Company, the group that I was in before the Whiffenpoofs. I knew people who would audition every year in a kind of protest for the Whiffenpoofs, saying, this is a different experience, we should be considered for this. Even though they knew they would not be considered, they would go and do that audition.
The group you were in before the Whiffenpoofs at
Yeah.
Yale was called Mixed Company?
Mixed Company of Yale.
And what year did you get into that group?
I joined a couple weeks into coming to Yale. So that's a group for the first 3 years.
Okay.
So right when I got to campus.
So when you got to campus, you tried out for that particular group?
Yeah, I tried out for a bunch. It's a whole elaborate rush process these days, but that's the one that I ended up in.
And when you applied, so you graduated class of 2019, right?
Yes, I graduated high school in 2015. Then my WIF class was 2019, but we take a year off, and so I was 2020 in the end.
So okay, I see.
Yeah.
So when did you decide to apply for the Whiffenpoofs, to be invited in the group, when you did it seriously as opposed to as a protest?
Yeah, so what happened was that my junior year, which is when I would have been auditioning for a senior group, the Whiffenpoofs and the Women Rhythm of 2018, the year right above us, they were the ones who decided to open up their audition process and remove the gender requirement. So they said, actually, we don't care that it is men in this group and women in this group. If you're able to sing the tenor and bass parts, if you're able to sing the soprano and alto parts, we're not going to ask about your gender. That's not important to us. You get to audition for both, for one, for whatever you'd like. And so I auditioned for both groups that year.
So you're saying for both the women's group and
Yeah.
the Whiffenpoofs.
Yep.
And those are both groups that have only seniors only, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. And tell me the process. How do you go? Do you have to sing? Do they recruit you? How does the singing
Yeah,
process
I think it's
occur?
actually changed over the years. You should probably ask some of the other folks next week because
week.
they'll know more. But because in the olden days,
The olden
shall
days.
we say?
Thank you very much, Sophia.
In the olden days, I think it actually wasn't auditioned. It was a sort of tap process of who you knew kind of thing. But for as long as anyone that for the time that I was in school, and I think for a while before then as well, it was an auditioned process. So for the Whiff and Poof audition, it was just a half an hour of my life, which is really weird to think about sometimes. But you go in, they warm you up, they warm you down, they just kind of test your range, they test your blending. So they'll have you sing a quartet with other current members of the group. There was a sight reading test my year, and then
To read music, you mean to be able to read music?
yeah, I don't know if every year does that, but that's how it was for us. And then you sing a solo. And
What
that's-
solo do you sing? Do you remember?
Yeah, so I sing a Sarah Bareilles song.
I love
Yeah.
Sarah Bareilles. In fact, Elton John said she sang the most beautiful version of Yellow Brick
Yellow Brick
Road.
Road. It's
Right?
unbelievable.
I play that song a lot.
Yeah.
And he said it's the best version of that song that he wrote, and he sang Elton John.
I would say
That
so.
And I saw the movie, the Broadway show Waitress.
Yeah.
She's a phenomenal singer. So you sang one of her
Sang,
songs.
yeah, her song Manhattan.
I'm not going to ask you to sing it to me now, but we have another song you're going to sing for us later on. So when did you know that you were invited to Whiff and Poofs for real?
For real, what they said, you're in.
So you didn't have like
Yeah.
a tap, like secret societies would have a tap day or whatever?
There is a tap, but they tell you a little bit before that moment. Yeah, they call everybody and tell them.
And you mentioned something called parts and blend. What does that mean in terms of singing?
Yeah, so basically what they're testing in the audition there is in a singing group like this, we're singing in harmony most of the time, and so there's at least 4, but often more lines happening at once. And so the idea is not only, can you hold your notes while other people are holding their notes, but also if you're singing the same words at the same time, can you be matching vowels? Can you be matching tone or expression? Can you sort of sound like one instrument together?
What'd you major in at Yale?
I majored in music.
Did
yeah.
you? I started out pre-med for the first 2 years and decided I didn't want to do that, and I went to the law school route. But I did take the first 2 days of a class in music, like music. They have classes like physics for poets, so to speak.
Sure, yeah.
There was a song, I think it was
I took
music.
physics for sound or
Did you?
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started out in a show in a class called Music for almost like poets, whatever. And I went the first 2 classes, and I was intimidated.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't read music, whatever.
Sure.
And when I go to law school, I was a grade nerd, right? So I didn't want to ruin my record, so I just didn't take it.
Yeah.
Tell me just real briefly before you get to other things about you besides Whiff and Poofs. You said you took a year off.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that process. What happens? I want to know about that, and then also Maury's on Monday nights.
Yeah, sure. So the Whiff and Poofs for the last couple decades will take a gap year between junior and senior year. And that kind of allows a just more vigorous touring schedule. And so it sort of progresses from the beginning of the year is mostly local tri-state area gigging probably 4 to 6 times a week, and then continues to become further afield. So in the winter we did a tour to the West Coast, and then in the spring we went to Asia, and then over the summer we did a world tour to many continents all over. And so in that gap year, usually you're working some jobs locally to support yourself, and then you're gigging in the evenings or on the weekends as a group.
So you're raising money for the trips, essentially?
Yeah, exactly. So you make the money that will take you around the world and take you to the other destinations.
So between your junior year and senior, you did that gap year.
Exactly.
Next week, when we have our Whiff and Poof show,
Yeah.
we have Brendan Sherrod, who played varsity basketball
Yeah.
on the first Yale team to win the NCAA tournament game against Baylor, and he took a year off, and that was quite a lot of news at those days, because for
Right.
someone to leave the sports field, but you'll hear his song. He's going to do a solo for us
Yeah,
next year as
amazing.
well. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now,
Yeah.
professionally.
Yeah, so I live in New York City. I'm a working musician. I have an artist project, so to speak. So that's under my name. I'm writing songs, recording songs, performing solo and with a band. And I'm doing a lot of other musical work as well. I sing as a cantor for Catholic churches, and I'm a community music facilitator for an organization called Gaia Music Collective. And so we host a lot of different kinds of musical events for anyone to attend. I will direct these pop-up choirs where anyone can come and just sing a song. Like, it's not a performance, it's just a rehearsal. So I'll arrange and direct for those. I run songwriting workshops, collaborative songwriting, where people can come together and play songwriting games. I'll do open mics, I'll host open mics for them. And again, that collaborative aspect is really important. So we encourage people, we all warm up together and then we get to know each other. And then even when people are doing their individual sharing, the idea is they can teach somebody their chorus or ask someone to hop up on an instrument to keep it really casual and really connective. And I'll teach privately as well and sing backup for other people. So a whole mix of musical work, but I'm writing and recording and working on my artist project.
What project?
The artist project,
Right.
yeah.
I sometimes forget in the show to ask someone to tell them their website, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I don't forget, if someone wants to learn more about when you're performing, where you're performing,
Yeah.
about your songs, do you have a website?
Yeah, I'm at sofiacampoamor.com.
Okay, so do it slowly again one more time.
Yeah, it's my first and last name as you've seen it up here. So sofiacampoamor.com.
.com. You pronounce your name very well.
I've had a lot of practice.
Oh, thank you. We're going to go to some of the songs you've written and talk about how you write songs, et cetera. But I'm going to ask my director
Yeah.
to play Stardust, which is a song that you wrote, correct?
Correct.
We're going to ask you about that song after we play it now. So if my directors will play Stardust right now, I'd really appreciate it.
Sounds good.
You left the string lights twinkling like stars. I tried to navigate by where you are. It hurts to stay close, to keep distance from you. I'm not scared of hard things, but which one to do? 'Cause I've spun in circles since you killed the magnetic field. I can't find the dipper, I'm stuck with the sword and the shield. I wish I had something that wasn't a blade in my belt. I've been lost since I cut out the love that I felt. Orion, I'm trying my best. He says to keep searching. I just wanna rest. I loved you way more than enough, and we had the world, but you still wanted stardust. We had the world, but you still wanted stardust. You left the string lights tangled in knots. I won't replace all the floor lamps you bought. I know that you're gone, but I'm not ready yet. It hurts to remember, it's worse to forget how I spun in circles just trying to give you your space. But all you could see was me dizzy and running in place. I wish I had somewhere to turn to that wasn't the sky. He points out where you went, but he won't tell me why. Orion, I'm trying my best. He says to keep searching. I just wanna rest. I love you way more than enough, and we have the world, but you still wanted stardust. Whoa, stardust. It's all in the name. The sparkle has faded, but we're made of the same. Whoa, I
That's excellent. You know, I chose the 3 songs that you're going to play today, and you were kind enough to help me choose those songs, but those are my 3 favorites, and I really love Stardust. Who are the folks in that group with you? Is it a band you have, or are they just...
Yeah, so the kind of the way we end up doing it, there's sort of a rotating cast where we'll all end up playing in each other's projects at various points, but actually there's 3 other Whiffenpoofs up there.
In that group?
In that group, yeah. So my friend Isaac, who is to my right, he was in my actual class of Whiffenpoofs, and then the other guitarist, Chris Peters, was a couple years older than us, so a different year of Whiffenpoofs. And then Kenyon, who was playing percussion, was actually the person who ran my audition, because he was the music director the year above me and Isaac. And they're all, Isaac is not a professional musician, but a very good one. And then Chris and Kenyon are both fantastic producers and artists in their own right, but I like to call them in when I have a big show. And my friend Lizzie, who is, I think, playing ukulele and singing, she's another amazing singer-songwriter, Lizzie Hilliard. We've got a song together that's called The Woman I'll Become. Sarah Kim, who is playing violin, she plays like Broadway pits, and she's really great. And then our friend Catherine, who is playing violin on the floor, is in law school, but a fantastic musician, and she and Lizzie and I have a trio together sometimes. So
It's really cool how that song sounds. You see the Duke basketball stuff, that's from my law school days. Duke has, for the basketball team, they call it the Brotherhood. And it's about guys who played 20 years ago, for example. They all come back in the summer and they play together. In this situation, the Whiffenpoofs, I call it a brotherhood/sisterhood now.
Sure.
And so you guys still stay close in terms of...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the show that we're doing next week is going to have people from various different classes.
Right.
And everyone got run very well. It was very, and I went to my reunion recently, and they had the Whiffenpoofs sing the Whiffenpoof song.
Yeah.
And what they did, I didn't realize this until I did this show and preparing for it, is that when they call for the Whiffenpoof song, they say, anyone here is a Whiffenpoof, come on up.
Yeah, exactly.
They come on up. But tell me, I like to always ask about when writers write a book or poetry or whatever we prepare my shows, or songwriters, what was your thought behind the song? On Stardust, tell me how you came about. Did you write the words and the music both?
Yeah, I wrote it all.
So how did that come to your head? How did you do it?
Yeah, so I like to give myself a lot of songwriting challenges, or just different kinds of structures to make sure that I'm writing a lot. Because the best songwriting advice I've ever gotten is that all you can control really is the quantity, and the quality comes from the repetition and just from making yourself available to the process often enough. And so with that song in particular, I had a different song that was coming out, actually. It's called Ghost Ship. It's on my album. And in the lead up to that song I had posted a clip of on TikTok a while back. And there was a lot of people who were excited about it. And so all those people who had commented on that video saying, you should keep going, you should make the song, we want to hear this. There was about 21 of them. And so I chose, for the 21 days leading up to that song's release, I decided to write each of those people a song based on the very little information that was on their TikTok profile. So for some people, it was just like an image and their name or something. So I think for this particular day, somebody whose screen name was Orion, I think, was the person that had commented. So I was just going off of that. But then what happened when you give yourself these structures, it kind of opens up, it's sort of a filter through which your own experiences come through. So really what was going on, I was going through a sort of breakup at the time, and I was feeling a lot of things about that, but writing about that directly can sometimes be harder. And so what happened instead was I had these images and thinking about this constellation and why I was looking at it, and what came through that was the experiences I was having of being someone with when you both really care about each other, but somehow that spark isn't happening.
What's that song, Breaking Up Is Hard to Do? Neil Sedaka.
Sure.
Neil Sedaka, right? Breaking Up Is Hard to Do.
Yeah.
When I'm glad you mentioned Orion, because when I've heard that song, and I've played it many times. In fact, when I do my 4-mile walk, which you might do next week when I bring your sneakers with you.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell if it was Orion or Orion, like OH space
sure.
Ryan, R-Y-A-N.
No, it's the constellation.
It's the constellation.
Yeah.
I see. And you had a breakup that kind of caused you to write that?
Yeah, that was kind of what was available to me at the time. Yeah.
A lot of writers of songs and poetry stuff do that kind of thing where whatever's going on in their life.
Right.
Did you find it good for you emotionally to write a song about that? Did it help you deal with the breakup?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's funny, a lot of times when you write something, then it almost feels like somebody else has written it. And so then it can be something that you listen to and gives it a little bit of distance. I don't know.
I had a trial a couple years ago, and I was doing my walk, and I was probably 2 miles into the 4-mile walk, and I had this thought. It's like 8:30 at night. I was walking at night downtown Richfield, and I said, "Wait a minute, that's a brilliant thought." Now I'm walking another couple hundred yards. I said, "Wait a minute, if I don't write this down now, I might forget it." So I turned around, and I don't usually run, but I ran home to write that thought. Do you ever have that experience when you're writing music, like you're driving a car or something, and you say, "Wait a minute, I got a good thought on that"?
Yeah, probably sometimes. I definitely use my notes app on my phone so that I get things in the moment if I think I'll forget them, and voice notes as well.
Well, I'm going to give you authorization. If you ever want to write a song called for the Bobby O Show,
Oh.
you have full right to use it, and when it goes to the top of the hit parade, you can use that song.
Nice.
So I was reading something about you online. I do my homework, as you know,
Yeah.
from our discussions, and there was a comment made about your songwriting that has certain themes. And this thing said, you did one album or 2 albums?
2 albums.
Okay, so which album is the one that says, "If you knew, I couldn't tell"?
That was my first album.
Okay. So in there it says, what I read said, quote, the 12-song
The
collection.
12 one is actually the next album, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
With All the Lights On.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's about that second album coming
Yeah.
out. When is it coming out?
It came out already. With All the Lights On came out, the first version came out September of last year, and then the deluxe version came out this summer.
I need to have that. You got to send it to me.
It's out there. It's
out there?
online.
Oh, great. I can do that. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so it says here the 12-song collection is an exploration of the body, delving into themes of mortality, chronic illness, queerness, and intimacy with a raw vulnerability that has become Campoamor's signature. Did you write that?
I probably wrote
You
that.
probably that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you mean by all that? What's the significance of that?
Yeah, so as I was kind of leading up to the creation of that album, I don't tend to say, I'm going to write an album about this. I more just try to be writing all of the time, and then I sort of look back at what I have amassed and see what themes are emerging in common. And so, yeah, that summer when a lot of that was coming into play, I saw that I had been writing a lot about the body. I deal with chronic illness. I have Crohn's disease, but it was undiagnosed for a long time, and so in the process of figuring out what was happening to my body, there was a lot of mental health stress around that as well. And so I have a lot of like hyper awareness of my body, or a lot of sort of overlapped real things that are happening and things that feel real but are more on that mental health side of things. So that's always a thing that I'm writing a lot about. And then, seeing how that kind of connects to fear of the body, or fear of dying, or just our own mortal selves, and then thinking about how that's also, this body is the thing that we use to connect to other people, and that in love and in expressing ourselves that way, it's the same body that is experiencing these challenging things, that is in these situations.
My sister-in-law has a very close friend who has Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
And the friend is heavily involved in fundraising for the Crohn's disease. I forget what it's called, but we've written checks because of that situation. So that the disease you have, which I'm sure affects you almost every day or whatever, does it affect what you eat and those kind of things?
At this point, it's mostly in remission, so it's not really affecting eating, but that can come up definitely when it's not in control. Then it feels, that was kind of one of the songs on the album, was about that feeling of, it feels like nothing is safe to eat, honestly. But at this point, not so much.
But the point is that it comes out in your music. It comes out in your music. As I understand it, you went to a Quaker school.
Yeah.
For high school. Tell me, did that impact your writing at all in music? And if so, how?
I think so. Quakerism, one of a lot of the words that I think about when I think about Quakerism, or the phrase, is that there is that of God in everyone.
So you said there's that
of God in everyone. And so I tend to think about the divine as a collaborative process, honestly, or thinking about God as something that is what happens when the goodness in all of us adds up to something. And and I think that feels very connected to how art happens for me, that it is some kind of truth that is in the middle of what I'm making and what you're hearing, or yeah, something that we put together as a team. And I think that a lot of the songs on this album as well are kind of about the need to show up for one another, that no one is going to be there for us but us, and so that need to and the courage and the faith that is available to me, at least, more readily in showing up for someone else than in fighting for myself.
Love thy neighbor.
Yeah, absolutely.
My son went to Lehigh, graduated from Lehigh, and Elie Wiesel, who's passed away and was a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, hopefully I don't forget it now when I'm telling it to you, I'll never forget the Elie Wiesel's line at the Lehigh football stadium. I'm going to paraphrase, appreciate the otherness of others. Appreciate the otherness of others. I don't intend to get into a political discussion with you on this show unless you want to raise it, but part of what we have in our society now is there's not, in my opinion, the appreciation of the otherness of others. I'm Jewish. You went to a Quaker church school. You sing in a choir. What kind of church? What denomination is the church?
It's Catholic, actually.
Oh, Catholic.
Yeah.
So we have different religions, whatever,
Yeah.
but we have to learn to appreciate the otherness of others and be respectful of everyone's. My opinion. Any comment about that? And if so, how does it affect your music? Or
Yeah, it's honestly, I think that makes sense. And also, one of the things I was writing about in this album was coming to understand the idea of other as an alienating idea. One of the songs that I'm gonna play later for us live, it's called The Whole Time, and it's about coming out to myself. I'm queer, I'm bi, but that's something I didn't really acknowledge to myself until I was 26. And what kept me from that realization for so long was this feeling that even though I knew and loved many gay and queer people throughout my life and was lucky to be in supportive spaces for most of my life, the idea that being queer or that being gay was an other meant that I couldn't identify that way because I was waiting to feel like an other. And then what clicked for me eventually is actually that, no, actually queer people or minorities or religious minorities or people who are othered are actually main characters, are actually central, that their humanity feels like the humanity I was experiencing within myself every day. And that actually was really painful to realize that I had experienced that kind of distance because of the society that we live in, that does other people in that way, that it kept that truth from me for so long, because even though I thought I was being a loving and accepting person, that seeing others as other made me feel like that wasn't something I could connect to. So, and I definitely think there's a lot of beauty to appreciate in the way that people live and think differently from us. But I think the more that we can appreciate the otherness in ourself, or appreciate the self in the others, that's more what I take from that idea, I guess.
was it hard for you to express to others that you used the word queer, which that's part of that?
You know, it wasn't that hard for me to express it to others. It was hard for me to express it to myself. Most other people, I would kind of say it, I would say things, I was writing songs about women, I was doing all kinds of things that other people were correctly interpreting as me being interested in women. But I felt a lot of difficulty in actually claiming that or believing it about myself.
Does writing the songs about that topic make it easier for you to deal with yourself?
I don't know that it made it easy, but it made it necessary.
Okay, that's a better word. You must have gone to Yale, right? Necessary.
I'm a songwriter, so I'm very picky about my words.
You know, it's funny, when I was from a middle class community, Shelton High School, Shelton, Connecticut.
Yeah.
No one had gotten to Yale for 25 years until I got in. I don't know why. I always said that they put me in the wrong pile. It should have been a no, but they gave me a yes. So I went to my English class, Professor Weiskell, who unfortunately died. He was a young guy. He died that year. He and his kids fell through ice.
Wow.
But anyway, I went to the class and I said, I'm going to write down every word I never heard of before.
Nice.
57 words. I was embarrassed. But somehow I got through and I graduated.
You learned all those words.
Learned all those different words.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing I want to say before we go on is that when you use the word queer, as we talked about this before the show, I never realized that people who, I never would use the word queer.
Sure.
But I did a show on the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
And I went to a meeting at the Richfield Police Commission. There was an issue about having having colors put on the sidewalks, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who's passed away was going to be on my show, and she said, come to this meeting tonight. And I heard about that, and they were using the word queer, and I was
Yeah.
surprised because
Yeah.
being Jewish, there's derogatory words about Jews and
For
Italians
sure.
and whatever. So I was surprised that that word is used. Now I use the word,
Right.
but I'm still a little uncomfortable when I use that word, not because only
No,
because
it's
out
understandable.
of respect, not out of.
Yeah, and I think it's always good to ask people what words they like to be using for themselves. There's definitely some other derogatory words that have not been reclaimed for the wider public, and so it's always good to ask.
Whenever I do my shows, as you know, I do a
Yeah.
lot of prep shows and I talk, so I get to know you. It's like I feel like I'm talking to a friend
Yeah.
who I've known for years. I hope you feel the same way. And my other guests, the same thing. So when I ask these questions,
Yeah.
it's like getting to know you. You know, the
Right.
famous song, getting to know you.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that from Sound of Music, right?
It's from The King and I.
The King. Okay, I'm
Julie
sorry.
Andrews.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jimmy.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But in this quote, it also says something about, you talk about intimacy with a raw vulnerability, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me about that in your music.
Yeah, I think that I feel like if I can name something in a song, if I can say sort of the scariest thing or the most painful thing, then that feels like it gives me a lot of power over it. So if there's, I don't think there's nothing that's off limits, but I think the more things that I feel like I can put into a song and say in front of a crowd of people, then that actually makes them easier to deal with. So that's one of the reasons why I find it in some ways easier to be vulnerable as a writer probably than as a human.
I love the show, The Wonderful Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah, it's a good
Did you
one.
watch that show?
I did, yes.
And I love the end scene. It was phenomenal. I miss Rachel. In fact,
Yeah.
I actually, my sons and kids will tell you that I don't like action movies as much, but I went to see Superman only because Rachel from that
Oh,
show.
cool.
But I mentioned that show because in her comedy skits
Yeah.
in the show, she would use a lot of her own personal life experiences.
Yeah.
Do you ever have anyone say to you, hey, wait a minute, I heard that song, that's me? Truth?
Yes.
Okay.
Although I usually the people who are in the songs who would be hearing the songs get to hear the songs before they're in the show. So it's not usually the first they're hearing of it.
I see, okay. I want to go to another topic, and we have a lot, we could talk for hours and hours. But there's a game called Wordle,
Yes.
and you have some connection with that because you have had a lot of ticks, or clicks, I guess let's call it, on TikTok.
Yeah.
Tell me about your connection with the game Wordle.
Yes. So back in the height of the Wordle explosion, when people were first starting to play a lot of Wordle, if anyone here hasn't played it, it's a word game now owned by the New York Times, but I think it was originally started in England, and it's you have 6 chances to guess a 5-letter word, and it tells you which letters are right and which letters are in the right place. And so I think I was substitute teaching at the time, and a lot of the other folks in the teacher's lounge would be playing Wordle, and that was a way for me to kind of have something to talk about with them. So I started playing Wordle, and then I was sitting on the subway one day and I realized I could use this to write songs. It's giving you, these 5 or a maximum of 6 words and with these 5 letters. And so I started just trying to write verses that would have each of those words in order. It was also a fun visual. I would sort of use it as a green screen where I would put the Wordle up behind me and then I would sing in front of it on the video, and I would make these posts. And because a lot of people were playing at that time, it was really fun for them to see. I did it for about 2 months in a row, and I still do it now like once a week. But for that time period, I would do it every day, and people were excited. Oh, like what's she gonna write about today? And it's also particularly suited to music because it's narrowing in on a word and it's reusing a lot of the letters as you get closer. A lot of times there's fun alliteration or there's rhyme that happens as you're guessing. And so it's just a really fun musical structure to get you writing quickly and writing about something you wouldn't necessarily write about otherwise.
There's no doubt you're a typical, very bright Yale woman.
I love my words.
You love your words. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. When you told me before today's show,
Yeah.
about 20 minutes ago,
Yeah.
you told about this thing, I asked you to play a song
Yeah.
on Wordle. Would you please, director, play that very short song about Wordle, which was recorded in studio
Yes.
in Danbury, Connecticut?
So this is a song that I wrote when the Wordle word of the day was Homer, which some people were upset about because they said, hey, that's a proper noun, but it's also a term in baseball. But I decided to opt for the proper noun. And I used not only Homer, but all of the other 5-letter words that I guessed on my way to getting that answer. And this is the first verse of that song. I am Homer with my pen over the page. Let it tremble, let it hover till it falls to last an age, when 1,000,000 lobes have risen in a single coastal hut, and the crude maps I've drawn back to you faded into dust. Will a final weary journey be enough?
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. I'm glad you told me about that. See, it's dangerous when you come to the studio
Right.
and you brought your guitar today and everything else.
I was ready to go.
That was really cool. What are you working on now?
Right now, I'm working on, I just finished a 2-week residency actually. I was up in Ossining in Westchester at a wonderful spot called Bethany Arts Community. And I'm working on a new project that I think will be called Mirror Garden. And it's a lot of garden imagery, a lot of childhood stories. One of the songs is 3 different children's books put together and talking about kind of some common themes in there. And so I've been focusing this year a lot on trying to produce my songs myself or take them further in the process myself. So trying to actually slow down the writing a little bit and spend more time composing and arranging and really building a unique sound world for my next project.
Before I forget, I have a question about that. How many hits have you had on TikTok for your Wordle music games?
Yeah, so those Wordle videos have been viewed probably about 2 million times at this point.
2 million times.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
The really popular one was for Ulcer.
Really?
If you can believe that. That song is out. It's Ulcer, Don't Trust the Dawn. It's a sort of fantasy tale about traveling through a wasteland to complete a quest.
Are you involved in something called is it pronounced Gaia, G-A-I-A?
Gaia
Musical Collective. What is that?
Yeah, it's a community music organization based in New York City that hosts sort of open to the public musical experiences that are intended to be accessible to all musical backgrounds.
So this residency you did right before now, the last couple weeks, is that part of that?
That was separate. So the residency was something I applied to work on my own music.
I see.
Yeah.
As you sit here, well, I want to read you one quote I found also that was very interesting to me. That was, quote, Sofia has a talent for capturing and expressing human moments in just a few words. You're certainly not a lawyer, because lawyers do not use it, we're more loquacious. In just a few words and a few chords. There's a kind of magic in revealing just enough to hint at a story, but hiding most of it to retain a sense of mystique. What does that mean?
What does that mean? I think it probably speaks to, honestly, why I love songs as a medium so much, because you get to be really precise and you get to be really creative and you get to hold things that are very complicated, but you get to leave a lot of space at the same time where people can imagine themselves or imagine many different situations, and it can all feel true, but there's a lot of possibility there.
As you sit here now, you're 28, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I would not mention if your age if you were over 30, but you're 28. Do you have certain, obviously you have goals and objectives, and I know you enough to know that you have goals and objectives, but if you sit here and say 10 years from now, do you have any ideas, plans professionally where you're hoping to get to?
Yeah, I'm really just trying to get my music out to more of the people who would enjoy it. So I'm wanting to build enough of an audience where I can be touring more regularly and touring further so that I can be playing for more people. I'm hoping to open for some heroes and then be one of those heroes myself.
And who are your heroes?
Indigo Girls, Brandy Carlisle, in my generation, Katie Pruitt's amazing, Jensen McRae, yeah.
You mentioned Sarah Bareilles, who I think is...
always. Yeah, one of my earliest inspirations.
How does it feel like when you were watching your songs? When you're watching those things, like when I watch our shows, and I watch all my shows because I want to say, what can I learn better for the next show?
Yeah.
Okay, and sometimes I'll say, gee, why did I say that stupid thing or something, right? Not that you'd ever say things stupid, but tell me, how do you feel when you watch the songs that you're singing?
Yeah, you know, one of the cool things about what we've watched here today, especially just seeing from both sides now to what it's like for me today to perform, it might not sound all that different to a viewer, but to me, knowing how much more grounded I feel as a performer, I was terrified pretty much my whole Whiff and Poof year. Going up to solo was really, really anxiety inducing for me. for a lot of reasons. But I think it's really nice to see now that even though there's so much further that I want to grow as a vocalist and a writer and performer, I feel a lot more grounded in what I'm doing, what I'm making, and it feels a lot more comfortable and true to who I am.
I've said this in shows I've done and also to young lawyers I deal with. I still, after all the years of practicing law as a litigator, if I still get butterflies the first 25, 30 seconds, am I going to say something the way I want to or how I'm going to do it? I got my trial notebook worked out, and then it's fine.
Yeah.
And I've told people, if you don't have the butterflies, if you don't have that nervousness, then you should change careers because you always want to do your best.
Right.
Remembering that when you sing, like today you sang the songs we've seen, and when you did the Whiff and Poof, each person who saw you sing that song, Both Sides Now, you probably sang it 1,000 times, I don't know how many times, but 500,000 times. Many people are singing it for the first time, and you want to make sure that that's your best that you can do to make sure that you do it well. And do you have those feelings?
Yeah, I feel like at this point now, it's a lot more possible for me to show up and do my best every time I perform, and that's really where I want to be.
I mean, I'm not an expert, except I love music.
Yeah.
And I think you have this beautiful, sweet voice. Do you think that you have any desire to be on Broadway?
To be on Broadway, I love Broadway. That's what I grew up listening to. I think the people who are vocally in shape for that are doing a whole other thing than what I'm doing these days, but I'd like to get there eventually, yeah.
And what's the difference between singing the way you sing, writing your songs, and performing on Broadway? By the way, I saw Leah Michele.
Yeah.
My daughter and I, she took me for my birthday, as a matter of fact, to see Leah Michele, Funny Girl. And we always watched it. Did you ever watch Glee?
I did.
I liked Glee.
I had a great time watching Glee.
I love when they did Saturday Night Gleever. Saturday Night Gleever.
Okay.
But how is it different singing the way you sing?
Yeah.
Would you be singing? Would your voice be different than if you're singing on Broadway? How would that be different?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's all kinds of music on Broadway these days. So people are super, super versatile in what they do. But a lot of that material is built to be singing unamplified, honestly. People are amplified, but it's kind of a different tradition of using the voice, a lot more connected to speech. And that's something that I'm kind of still at the beginning of a journey with in my own voice. A lot of my singing is a little bit more connected to classical singing in some ways. And so I think there's just more growth I have to do for that kind of style.
I'm really enjoying your company, and I love speaking with you. The show's about to end, and you promised me
one more.
You promised me one more song that you were going to play
Yes.
for us live in studio. I just want to say before I go to that you are terrific. I hope you have great success. I look forward to seeing you again soon next week.
Sounds great.
And anytime I go to Brooklyn to watch a basketball game, I'm going to give you a call to come watch the game with me, whatever.
Perfect.
Sophia, you've been wonderful. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And so let's now go to your singing, the show live, done in the Danbury studio of Comcast. It's been Bobo Potzer saying, thank you, Sophia. You're wonderful.
Thanks so much. Summer after freshman year, you stop shaving your legs. Give up eating chicken and you pierce your cartilage. I go skinny dipping after midnight in the pond. Don't make out the details in the dark, just carry on. 7 odd years later in the city where we'll meet, you'll take off your glasses and I'll hold your face so sweet. We'll sit on the floor and laugh at all our tangled limbs. I will wonder why it took so long to just give in and be who I was the whole time. All I'll take from college is it's never either or, but I'll still need to feel it out firsthand before I'm sure. You will draw a map of all the moments that make sense. Lose the piece of paper, but hold on to where you've been. 'Cause it's who you were the whole time. Ooh, ooh.
I come home to myself, I fix the place up nice. Kept the record cabinet stocked and hung the colored lights. And all our chosen family are waiting in the wings. Not to shout surprise, but just to pull us in and sing that it's who I was the whole time. And it's who